Alrighty, everybody, good evening. Welcome back. This is News 6 Weather at 9:30, and I'll be your host tonight, meteorologist David Nazario. Hopefully a familiar face, even though it's been a little bit since we've chatted about the weather. I'm excited to see everybody tonight, and I hope that you've had a fantastic holiday season, and the beginning of 2026 is treating you very well. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in over there on News 6 Plus, and a warm welcome to those of you on the News 6 YouTube channel. Warm is kind of the name of the game. Warm is kind of what the headline has been for the last few days now. We did have a little bit of rainy ruckus come through over the weekend in the form of a cold front that slid through very quickly. Didn't do a whole lot for us in terms of our temperatures, but it did set up our pattern to then provide us with this warming trend that's a result of high pressure that's been pretty much stuck right over top of us. So let's get you a little bit of information on what you need to know. So for the rest of the week, since tomorrow is hump day, rapidly approaching, highs are going to be well above average. They've already been there. Today's high temperatures actually surged beyond what a lot of our computer models were thinking they would, which leads me to believe Wednesday, Thursday, and then especially Friday are definitely going to have a solid shot at trying to set some afternoon high temperature records. We're already well above the norm, and I'm talking anywhere between 5, if not 7, even 9 degrees above average in certain areas of Central Florida. For the entirety of the Florida Peninsula and the Panhandle, our neighbors in the Big Bend. Again, it says they're nearing records by Friday. Could be a little sooner than that. And then we're also tracking the next front by Sunday. And the problem with the next front, we did have a decent shot at maybe pulling some rain from it. Now it seems as if those chances are dwindling because of the proximity of the high pressure that's kind of producing all this fog for us morning after morning. It's going to be with us again tomorrow morning and likely Thursday morning. That same high pressure is going to keep the landmass probably a little too stable, a little too capped off, if that makes sense, to produce any widespread showers, let alone heavier rainfall or thunderstorms. So now this is what we have out there right now. Taking a look at the water vapor, you can see that dominant ridge. I'll take it full screen so you all can get a better look with me. When you look at this water vapor shot, you can see the deep ocean, no pun intended, but the ocean of red shading just to the south and west of the Florida Peninsula, kind of bathing the Florida Keys, Miami, and the southern fringes of the peninsula jutting out there and then waving back off to the east through the Bahamas and into the greater Atlantic waters. And then towards the top portion of it there, you can kind of see where that moisture's riding the northern apex of the ridge. Let me go ahead and pull this up. The computer's running a little slow tonight, so if it seems like I'm just sitting there on a blank page, I apologize. But you can see here, everything is running to the north of it. There you go. There's my telestrator. And that's all thanks to large subtropical high pressure spinning clockwise pretty much right over top of us. And one thing a lot of folks don't know is with high pressure, you have a lot of sinking motions that occur in the center of it. So the closer you are to that H, you get a little bit more of that warmth, especially as a high pressure starts to modify over something like the Gulf, which I'll add is actually above average in terms of temperatures right now, which is very interesting. Not thinking it's going to have any translation to the hurricane season down the road, but naturally, because it's me, I have to take a look at that and see exactly what is starting to come together from this far out. I love to do my little pre-seasonal outlooks, especially over on YouTube. So moving over to the infrared, can't quite see a whole lot here because we haven't had a lot of clouds out there. And the infrared dabbling with temperatures, it's going to be a little more difficult to spot where it is. We're already starting to see a little bit of that fog trying to blossom. If you look very faintly and very close between Tallahassee and Gainesville, though, you'll see just a little bit more of those shallow gray colors, indicating that we already have a bit of a fog bank building out there. And when you switch to our fog tracker, you can see it. Wherever you see the shades of blue up there, near the Gainesville, Alachua County area, that's your fog. The fog's already trying to build up. Not necessarily the main push that we're expecting through the night tonight, but it kind of goes to show that the fog is already trying to roll in up there, and we're expecting a lot more of it to fan out from the west, moving east through Ocala, the Villages, Leesburg, and even down near my neck of the woods between Lakeland, Davenport, and Haines City. We're probably going to be seeing some decent fog once again. Now, your temperatures outside, we're doing okay. Not too shabby out there. Got some low to mid 60s. We've cooled down pretty systemically as we've gone just past sunset over the last couple hours. And this is, like I said, those high temperatures from the day today. If you look at Orlando, topped out at 81. Cocoa Beach at 85 degrees. I got to double check that, as a matter of fact, because I feel like Cocoa Beach could definitely be nearing one of those record high temperatures already. The rest of us, low 80s and upper 70s, and that's precisely what we're going to be expecting for tomorrow, since this area of high pressure and subtropical ridging is just going to remain in place. But there is a bit of change that's going to be coming in soon enough. Quick glance at your wind speeds for the time being. Winds are, it looks like they're generally out of the south, but when you look at all of our stations between Gainesville all the way back down to Melbourne, we would call this light and variable. Call it light and variable, because if you look, we have that southerly flow out over open water, but the moment the winds try to get into interior Florida, well, you don't really quite see them. And honestly, it's been very interesting moving around the last couple days. It's been a very busy last couple days for all of us. Seeing the things outside, like the Christmas ornaments, the Christmas decorations, the flags, the American flags out there, anything on the flag poles, they've been totally still. They haven't been moving. And that's a primary example of what that high pressure is doing for us by sitting pretty much directly overhead. There's another graphic I want to show you here that really communicates that well. Just give me 1 second to find it really. Here we go, this one here. So I'll take you full screen once again, and if you notice, you lose a lot of the blue colors as you get out off the west and east coast of Florida, and then directly over the peninsula. There's a lot of zeros out there. Key West is at 0. Miami is at 0. Fort Myers is at 0. Tampa, Orlando at 0. You've got a little bit of that southerly flow impacting Pensacola and Tallahassee. But overall, that high pressure is absolutely dominating. And this is what we're going to be seeing as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow. This is our good old HRRR fog tracker. And you can see right around 1, 2 o'clock when that inversion sets up and we finally cool the surface off more than the air above it, can really start to see it expanding across our viewing area. And then by about 8, 9 o'clock, once the sun is given a little time to marinate out there, we are going to start to see it burn off, which is good news, because you definitely want to be careful. This could definitely pose hazardous conditions for your morning commute, especially now that I believe just about every single one of our Central Florida counties will be back to school tomorrow. I know a lot of us came back today. Tomorrow we'll wrap up that bundle for the return to school, return to the grind, if you will. So definitely be careful out there, especially approaching and moving past school bus stops or any high traffic areas that involve crosswalks, students trying to get across the street, headed to school, walkers, bike riders, and so on. So we'll be right back. We're going to take our first scheduled break, and then we'll talk about a little bit of the change that's just around the corner, and have your questions ready. Ask some questions. Let's have some fun tonight. I did not set up trivia, unfortunately. This is my one night to fill in, and it was kind of dropped in towards the last second with some big schedule changes. So definitely forgive me. I spaced on that, but I'm definitely more than happy to answer any questions or talk trivial facts with you all here when we come back. So don't go anywhere, folks. We're just going to take a quick little 3-minute break. All right, welcome back. That was our first little 3-minute break. I've got some questions coming in the chat to include: when are we going to get rains, and how long term of a cool down is it going to be, as well as how cold could New Smyrna Beach be? Well, first and foremost, I'll let you know, I think because this is going to be a somewhat extended duration cold event for us, we're not going to see temperatures plummet as harshly as they have in recent days. For example, the past cold blast we had dropped us into the upper 20s, low 30s for a lot of us, especially once you factored in the wind chill. But in this case, I think our low temps are going to bottom out somewhere between 41 to 43 degrees for much of us in interior central Florida. And in the afternoon hours are going to be pleasant, with highs somewhere between the low to mid 60s until we get to our warmer days of about the upper 60s, low 70s. Well, we still have a little bit of time to get ahead of this because our computer models are naturally going to adjust, given we are still about a week or so away, maybe about 6 days away from when things are really going to cool off. So first and foremost, these are going to be the forecast highs for tomorrow. Just want to show you what we have going on here. So right out of the gate, this looks cooler than what we observed today, which leads me to suspect that we're probably going to top a lot of these degrees, or top a lot of these temperatures, if not exceed them pretty easily, especially when you look at where we leveled out in Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne for the day today in comparison to what the forecast is showing for tomorrow. Orlando has a high temperature here of about 80 degrees, but today we saw a high of 81. So what we could do is, based on continuity, as it's called, we can probably take some of these numbers and add a digit or two to it. Or maybe not add a digit, excuse me. We're not adding a triple digit or anything like that, but add a number or two to it as well. Add 1 or 2 degrees to each individual spot here. Orlando will probably end up with a high of about 81, 82 tomorrow. I'm really curious to see what Cocoa Beach does tomorrow, because that'll definitely be interesting to see if we top out in the mid 80s once again, like we saw today during the warmest part of the day. And where else we could get close to setting those near record highs. That's going to be very interesting. This is what the hourly temperatures look like for the day tomorrow. We are going to warm up pretty fast. Once that fog clears out, notice that we are actually expecting anywhere between 25 to 30 degrees worth of a warm up between our morning low and our afternoon high temperature. We're going to start the day in the upper 50s, low 60s across the board, and then we're going to get into those low 80s. And you can see here that for the hourly temperature forecast, we're going for a high of 82, whereas our in-house model there was showing a high of about 80 in the Orlando metro area and outer lying areas. On top of that, one thing I'm starting to notice is our air quality is going down. Since it's so warm outside, the pollen is starting to go up, and I'm seeing a bit more of those controlled burns in construction sites. So be prepared for that. Since we don't have a lot of wind out there and we haven't had a lot of rain, the air is just going to kind of go stagnant. So air quality is going to be a concern, as is the pollen. The pollen count is going to probably be going up very fast over the next few days. Let's see. Before we go any further in here, I just want to check the chat because I see it moving. Oh, of course, Jody. Jody Shellnut says, David, today was my daughter Alexandra's 31st birthday. If you could give her a shout out. Well, a massive shout out to Alexandra. I hope that you've had a spectacular birthday with you and the family. I hope everything has been phenomenal, and many, many blessings and many years to come for that matter as well. Yvette, welcome in. Hola, good to see you. All right, looks like the chat is good to go. And yes, rain is most definitely badly needed, unfortunately, because the drought conditions, which were a big concern leading into the winter time with those La Nina characteristics in the tropical Pacific, we kind of had a feeling that come January, February, and March, unfortunately, the drought was going to be a sneaky issue that would start to take Central Florida, if not the state of Florida, by storm. And we're starting to see that already because we really haven't had any great rain. We've gotten some rain, but not nearly enough to actually get the ground saturated or to make up for the dry conditions that are creeping slowly or slower and slower towards, or I should say faster and faster, towards these severe threshold. Ashrith, a late happy birthday. No call sign 6547. Hello there. Good to see you as well. I hope everybody had a happy new year and we're rocking into 2026 on a high note. So, looking ahead, we're still going to have that ridge stuck in place, but we've got a lot of different issues with systems running up face first into the western half of the United States. We've got multiple storm systems that are going to come down not only through the Pacific Northwest, but through Southern California into the desert Southwest as well. And that's what's really going to help to disrupt our pattern to where we're going to end up looking like this over the next couple days, where we're going to replace the ridge that's out here with an expansive trough that could actually get a secondary push of reinforcing cold air from up north as well. So that's also something we're going to be monitoring, because some of our computer models are definitely trending a little bit cooler as we go forward in time. There goes my computer lagging up on me again. As we get deeper into next week. So this is what our upper air look looks like. And you can see out west, we've already got a couple different features. That we got a nice short wave working its way up towards the Pacific Northwest. And then we've got a cutoff low that's stuck beneath the jet flow moving into Southern California, Arizona, and portions of lower Nevada. So I'll clear the ink out of the way, and before we take our next break, I'll show you what's going to end up happening here. We get a massive trough that comes down across the United States. Probably going to see some severe weather action for our neighbors up north, and then look what happens through Sunday into Monday. You see this feature here, this little bubble of additional coolness coming out of central Canada, moving through the Dakotas, headed into Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. That's going to help to reinforce the long wave trough that's actually already over the eastern U.S. by Monday at lunchtime. We go a little further out and see how it really begins to pull down more of that coolness, which is why I think this could definitely be one of those instances where the cool weather sticks around with us a little bit longer. But all right, it's time for our next scheduled break. Don't go anywhere, folks. I'll be right back with you in about 3 minutes. Have your questions ready. Ask any and all questions, whether it be related to the winter, it could be about the spring, could be a random question, a how goes it question. It could also be about the upcoming hurricane season, which looks to be a very, very mixed bag kind of up and coming event. I've got my early theories on that, but I'm not going to unload all those on you just yet. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you here momentarily. All right. So somebody in the chat has piqued my interest. Ashrith. Ashrith Ready 5967. You've definitely piqued my interest with a couple questions that you asked. And yeah, eventually, once I start to do this a little bit more often, I'll touch base with Jonathan and ask him about the music. Because I know a lot of you like the music on here, but I just never got spun up on how to pull it up, unfortunately. So Jonathan he'll be back, I want to say on Thursday, I believe. I'm not sure. It's been a whirlwind for all of us, but he's over at KPRC in Texas right now, helping them get a couple products done. But yes, El Nino is likely going to surface during the summertime. It looks like as we get further into February and March, La Nina conditions are slowly but surely going to dissipate, being replaced with neutral conditions likely through the spring. And then by maybe June, July is when it looks like we could trend into El Nino territory. Some of our climate models suggest it could happen sooner. I don't think we're going to retrograde out of La Nina characteristics that quickly. I think it's going to take a little bit longer. And then, truthfully, next fall winter season, if El Nino does decide to show itself, could get very interesting for us. Last winter and this winter, because of La Nina in the tropical Pacific, have been characterized by mild winter conditions as well as the drought. If you all remember 2023 going into 2024, however, we had a lot more rain and a lot more severe weather, talking more events in the tornado realm. And that's another reason why Ashworth says, hopefully, like last year, a quieter hurricane season for United States too this year. We'll see. Because that's one reason I had mentioned that it already kind of has this mixed bag appearance to it. Because even though El Nino is supposed to form up sometime during the summer and kind of get its act together by the peak of the hurricane season, a lot of our climate models are suggesting we could still see above average rainfall conditions in the Caribbean and especially the Gulf. And I'm noticing some of the signatures that popped up for last hurricane season, kind of telling us that a lot of the storms were going to be curving up the East Coast or out in the Atlantic. They've kind of nudged to the west a little bit. And even our European model, the seasonal model from the Euro, actually already has enhanced potential activity right off the east coast of the Carolinas and the northeast United States, which is precisely where I'd been investigating even prior to yesterday's model update. So here very soon, I'm going to be starting to release my month-to-month tropical weather outlooks leading up to April when we start to get our pre-seasonal outlooks from some of the big-name official sources out there. And then obviously we all know that hurricane season kicks off June 1st. And I promise I'm not trying to rush it, but I found some pretty decent success doing these pre-seasonal outlooks from a multi-month perspective far in advance. And last year verified pretty well. I would say we got about 90% of our predictions right on the money. The year prior verified really well before I took my time here at News 6. I was doing the pre-seasonal stuff on my own behind the scenes. So we'll see. I'm going to draw together some stuff and put a couple things together for you all to digest alongside me as we go over the next few months, because truthfully, it's already January 6th. Christmas and New Year's came by in a flash, so it's only a matter of time before spring and another hurricane season arrives on our doorstep. But hey, everybody, I hope you had a good evening. I hope you have a good evening. I'm so sorry. I know I sound like I'm all over the place tonight. It's brain fog. My wife and I just started the Daniel fast yesterday, so I'm running on very low calories. And for those of you not familiar with the Daniel fast, it's a way to draw closer to God and your spirituality. Not to get too religious on you all, but just to let you know why it is. It seems like I'm, on the dial-up connection tonight. And you're supposed to cut out all dairy, all meat, all basic processed carbs like bread, regular pasta, white rice, things like that. So I'm very flat tonight. Very, very flat. Have only been eating fruit and legumes and nuts and whatnot. So struggling, but we're going to get it dialed in. But on top of that, I want to leave you with, I hope that your resolutions that you set for 2026 come fully to fruition and then some. Set that bar and move it higher and higher, and don't let anybody stop you or let anything try to tell you no. So take it easy, everybody. We'll see you very soon. And I hope I'll see you very soon. I'm not too sure when I'll have another opportunity to fill in, but regardless, you'll always be in very capable hands with Jonathan Kegges. Have a beautiful rest of your Tuesday. And if we don't talk again soon, feel free to reach out via email. Find me on social media. Happy to strike up a weather conversation with you all. But until next time, this is the Digital Weather Center signing out.